We are live. Tuna record. First things first.
Nigga. You remember that shit I gave you last week, nigga? It's nothing, nigga. It's nothing, nigga. Nigga, it's nothing. This shit right here, nigga. This shit right here, nigga. Right here. This shit, nigga. This shit here, nigga.
Yes, indeed. Yes, in motherfucking deed.
Wait, keep it PG, bana. Keep it PG.
Yes. Wait, please. Last week ulikuwa umesema it was an episode powered by
Ferrari.
Welcome to episode 2 powered by Ferrari. Anyway, karibuni. Ladies and gentlemen, kama kawaida, welcome to the Pitboard discussions where the checkered flag is just the beginning. I'm your host Ace, the trouble man himself, smooth as ice, twice as nice.
And always had a bad day.
Never had a bad day in my life.
Leo lazima tukusumbue bana.
As obviously.
Leo lazima tukusumbue.
Tulia niwapige intro. Cheki rerun, tunapiga rerun.
Aya, sawa basi.
Aya, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pitboard discussions where the checkered flag is just the beginning. I'm your host Ace, the trouble man himself. Smooth as ice, twice as nice, never had a bad day in my life.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm joined here by my ever so insightful co-hosts. To my right, Ramen.
Sima.
Who got the keys to my what? Do you drive a Beamer, by the way?
No, I don't.
Blood clot Beamer.
Wait, keep it PG, bana.
Yeah, to my right, tumejoiniwa hapa na Ramen. So, Ramen, unajua investigative skills zake zinakuanga unbeatable. Na atawapatia something called perspective. He is the king of perspectives. The less troublesome done. Say a few words to the listeners and the viewers, done.
Ra.
Yeah. That is exactly what happened to Max over the weekend.
Wewe
Anyway, and to my left, Mushiri, Mr. No Cap himself.
God damn.
The man himself, the one with the encyclopedic knowledge, information. Yeye ndio the stats man. Buddha, leo umebeba stats because kuna a lot of stats we are going to dive to.
I need to remind you something. As the
What
host,
are you reminding me of?
as the host,
Nini?
your work is to ask questions.
Hapana.
Hey.
Nini? Relax, chill.
People are here to listen to not the hosts.
Watu wako
It's the
hapa
guests.
kusikiliza statistics. Wako hapa kusikiliza banter. But anyway, yeah, you will have your time to shine. So, Mushiri, say a few words.
I have just told you, your work, don't forget.
Sasa,
Is
you're
to-
trying to
is
bust
to
my
ask
bubble.
questions.
You're not busting my bubble today. Ferrari, nimekufungulia na intro gani? This shit right here, nigga. Last week was nothing. This week. Anyway, fresh from, tuko fresh from?
Singapore, baby.
Yeah, fresh from Marina Bay Circuit. Yeah, fresh. Official review of what could quite possibly be race of the season.
And wait,
Hapana.
let us remind the fans that hii episode inakuja mapema. Good.
Okay, yeah, episode itakuja mapema. So unaona ni fresh from. That's why ni fresh from, yeah. Fresh from episode itakuja mapema. Mushiri amewatetea sana. Episode itadrop mapema.
I'm always for the fans.
For the fans, okay.
For the fans.
So fresh from the Marina Bay Circuit.
Fans are the best.
Fresh from the Marina Bay Circuit.
Only the fans, eh?
Which could quite possibly
Wait, nini? Siuendele. Wait, keep it PG, bana. Keep it.
what were the other apps unajua? What is your handle?
What happened to Zandervoort? You said
Quite possibly be race of the season. Tunasema tu yani quite possibly. Like iko na contention hapo juu.
Nah, bro, you know we have to call you out.
Yeah.
Call me out.
Every race yenye ka Ferrari kananusa podium, it's the race of the season.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say?
Am I the only one who's made that observation, Mushiri?
If Max led every session of practice, took pole and led every lap of the race, haungesema hivyo.
Ungesema hivyo.
Max amekuwa na Grand Slam mwaka so far.
Yeah.
FYI
But
Grand Slam.
Nani alimiss?
FYI.
Thanks to Hamilton.
Yeah. FYI Grand Slam is when a driver gets pole the race weekend, wins the race and gets the fastest lap. You know, Grand Slam. Sainz alimiss out because of
Hamilton.
Oh,
The leader of cult.
well deserved. CEO of the cult.
The
Tribal chief of cult. Anyway, race weekend. Anyway, when umesema you're trying to call me out by saying ati the races zenye Ferrari zimeperform exemptionally well ndio nimeziita races of the season. I'd love to hear your list of races of the season so far.
Silverstone. Actually have a couple. Silverstone, Baku, Zandvoort. Zandvoort was really special. And also Monza.
Okay.
Yeah, keeping it short and sweet.
What races have I said ziko in contentions of being race of the season? Ju personally
Zandvoort.
nimesema Zandvoort
Yeah.
na nilisema Monza na sai Singapore.
Kwa nini? Common denominator hapo
Which
nini?
is on top?
Yeah, it's not my fault Ferrari are performing well in the races that I
Ndio hiyo basi.
Out of the three, which is on top contention.
Okay, I still think Zandvoort iko hapo juu for me personally, but Singapore a close second.
Stop the cap.
Singapore
Because of
kulikuwa na a
the
lot going
last
on.
few laps.
Stop the cap.
Because of one specific thing called racecraft na tutaiongelea at the end, towards the end of the podcast. Like that really stood out for me. It's something that has been missing. Ama it's one factor that hasn't really been highlighted in drivers racing this season.
Yeah.
Like
I'll burst your bubble during that time, but continue.
yeah. So it's one of those zenye-
Today is not that day.
lazima tuko episode 2 of Ferrari. Tuko episode 2 the Ferrari podcast.
Needles here to burst your bubbles.
uliona what Red Bull did by the way. We technical issue. We apologize kutakuwa na there won't be a Max Verstappen experience
the podcast.
This
Yeah, Sainz took over to.
yeah, this
to
is
host.
the image they posted on Twitter. Yeah. Anyway, so your thoughts, race review?
race.
Yeah. Ama the race weekend in general.
The race weekend. Okay, for me it was nice because I didn't have much going on, so I got to watch almost every session of the weekend. Yeah.
What did you make of it?
We'll get into it. Let's
Nah,
start with
just overall views.
overall.
Yeah.
We should file a petition to remove Singapore and bring back Malaysia. That's what I would say.
Why?
Malaysia and Singapore, they're not far from each other, and then
You want people to race in the jungle. See, Malaysia ni ile yenye watu wana race kwa jungle. People looking like Rambo in the
no,
cars.
Malaysia is actually a good track. And the thing that you're trying to say about Sainz is it's one of the reason why some street circuits I don't like them, especially Monaco. I've said that it also applies in Singapore.
You share the same sentiments, Mr. Less Troublesome Dan?
One about Singapore, hata mi naona itolewe.
Yeah.
Actually, I saw this coming. The only way to stop Red Bull from winning a race.
Round 1?
Round 1 to round 23, Singapore.
Singapore, baby. Hey. Singapore. You know what? Me, I have much love for those guys. Mimi, in fact, hata nataka kutafuta citizenship ya Singapore. Wale watu. The streak is over, man. The streak is over. And look, hey, don't take it to the bank yet, but I actually think it's the beginning of something else. I'm not saying you guys will be dominant. You guys will still be dominant.
We'll see you after Suzuka.
You guys will still be dominant. I'm just saying, hey, unajua when somebody has been dominating for so long, na once the streak is broken, kuna kuanga na sasa ile si kila time ana dominate hivyo. Like Max is not going to win 10 in a row. Yeah. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying he won't. It's going to be harder. But that also opens the field up. Watu sasa wanaweza challenge for those wins na nini. Na pia if I know we'll get into it, but if Red Bull have the issues, if these issues persist, because kulikuwa, this is the first time I think we are seeing Red Bull with shaky car setups.
It's the same car. It's the same
Still
car.
the same car.
Yeah.
Lakini setup ni mbaya.
Yeah.
For that track.
Yeah.
It is what you're saying about continuing doesn't make sense because it's the same car. If the same car had issues in other races, you could say that is in the beginning of some issues. But it only happened once. Statistically, by the way, that's an anomaly.
You're not hearing me yet. Nimesema that was the first time tumeona Red Bull waki set up the car in a way that they weren't supreme. Yeah? And it's not a thing that can't happen again. It can happen again.
Yeah,
but if it happens twice in a row, it could cause it could be cause for worry.
You'd love
Yes.
that.
Definitely,
If-
bro. Nah, but having you guys adopted me for the
Nah, no,
2020.
Where?
Yeah?
I don't need you guys anyway. Mimi nilikuwa na win yangu weekend. So,
Tumuuma hiyo bait yani.
One win.
which other team imeshinda apart from Red Bull?
You guys.
Red
Yeah.
Bull.
So for me, this is that one weekend which you're never looking forward to for the entire calendar. So for me it has always been Monaco and Singapore.
Yeah.
Monaco won, anything happens. Same thing to Singapore. Anything and everything can go wrong at the same time.
Yeah.
So I remember in the last pod we were when we were doing the Singapore pre-race or pre-weekend review. Mushiri and I were like, hey man, uku tutasafa. So mentally we look already prepared.
Yeah.
And seeing how Friday played out, as in it just confirmed for me personally my worst fears that this weekend Mercedes na Ferrari watu watatuclown mpaka sijui siku gani. But it is what it is, man. Yeah. So it was that one weekend which I wasn't really looking forward to, and I'm glad it's over.
On a scale of 1 to 10, give the weekend a review. I'm a rating.
The race,
The weekend, the whole weekend.
I'd give it a 6.
As expected. And you?
As a fan of the sport, 7.
7.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give
But
it
the reason why it doesn't have maximum nini is because of the track.
Okay, we'll get into that in a few. Well, personally, I'd give it a 9. And I know a lot of fans
Not surprised.
would agree because I think this is the first time this season we got to see other teams fight it out. Huko mbele. Yeah, not just the Red Bull, because Max and Red Bull have had a chokehold on the season so far, on the championship and everything.
You can say that the other way around. It's the other teams that weren't competitive enough.
Yeah, granted, but it's that one race in the year, round 16. Yeah, it's that race in the year yenye ilitupatia what could have been if Red Bull weren't this dominant.
Monaco was really close though. Sorry, no, yeah, Monaco and also Monza.
Yeah, those are close. Yeah. But Singapore sasa ilikuanga, unajua venye how guys are like, how will things be if Red Bull didn't exist? Ilitupatia that feeling. Now a lot of fans actually wali enjoy from free practice. Okay, free practice, we know Ferrari will top the charts, the times, the kila.
Lazima useme hiyo.
Yeah.
I'm surprised why you're saying that, because you see that was complete domination by Sainz. It's
He's making the sport boring.
it's
man.
just if you I'm saying if you replace Sainz with Max, it could be the same thing.
Niambie siku yenye Max alidominate free practice.
Max on a weekend.
Siku alidominate free practice. Nimetaja free practice.
Free practice.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure, but I'm sure kuna
They hardly do. The Bulls hardly dominate free practice sessions na vitu kaa hizo. Wako na
Really?
one-offs, nini. Lakini dominating the times venye Ferraris wali dominate the free practice times. I don't think I've seen it this season.
Ferrari is making the sport boring, man.
I could argue that.
Yeah, you could argue that because it's
FIA needs to do something.
and
Warudishe Binotto.
anyway, that was that free practice. But quali is where we started seeing some traces of magic into the race weekend. Now by traces of magic najaribu kuongelelea some action. Yeah, quali kulikuwa na a lot of things going on. First things first, shout out to Godzilla Jr. He was on track, alikuwa amepiga appearances kadhaa hapo, sijui kama mlimcheki. Yeah, the little lizard that was walking on track. That is Godzilla Jr. Shout out to him.
Godzilla si ni Japanese?
Yeah, see, lakini the offspring, kwani they can't tour?
Are you talking about the Godzilla that is in heaven?
Ala? Kuna Godzilla iko heaven?
The one that Alonso went over through.
Ala? Wait. Tafanya tukansoliwe bwana.
Yeah, Alonso.
Watu wa animal rights msikuje.
Peta, wanaitwa Peta.
You didn't do anything wrong.
By the way, for real, kuna yenye alikanyaga?
Yeah.
See, he ran over Godzilla Jr. Rest in peace. This is for you, man.
Yeah.
No wonder ikuonyeshwa kwa screen.
Yeah.
He's
So, yeah, but
Watu wa animal rights wangekuja
the
Hamilton.
big one in quali, the Lance Stroll crash. Tumekanyaga hiyo story. Anyway, the big one in quali, the Lance Stroll crash. That was one hell of a crash.
Oof.
Yeah.
That was one hell of a crash, bro. Ilikuwa that crash yenye, you know, thankfully he's okay. But the damage on the car.
okay. First of all, he let go of the steering wheel. That was good before the crash. And I think it was a combination of frustration because even before he started that lap, there was a lot of cars in that last section.
Yep.
So he was just trying to get Nini. And then I think the lap didn't start well. I think things were just going. You see how when an accident happens, we had the theory that it never really happens at that point. It's accumulation of so many things happening, and it all accumulated to the.
It all climaxes at a certain point.
At that last corner.
Yeah.
That last, and the impact was huge since he couldn't even race the following day.
Yeah.
I remember George also had a moment, still on the same cab, because when you're done with the last corner and you have to start the start-finish straight, you're on full throttle, because you want to go fast down the start-finish straight with or without DRS. So I remember there was a time George, I think either free practice. I think it was free practice. George was doing his kawaida laps, and then for a moment he was taking the corner high speed. Then he mounted that cab on the right side, just the same way Stroll did. And the cabs at Singapore, they won't forgive you. They'll unsettle.
Throw
the car.
you.
Yeah.
So George also had a moment where he lost balance and he was able to catch the understeer quickly.
Yeah.
And then he was able to
And putting a pin on that, tutaongelea a lot more on that because that did affect him later on in the weekend. Na speaking of the track, pia kulikuanga na I think Charles Leclerc, he had some slippery moments on the track pia.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Kwa race ama quali ama
kwa quali. Alikuwa na some slippery moments on during quali. Na it goes to show how careful you have to be on that track specifically. Yeah? Mkiingia tunnel vision during, because in quali, specifically quali, guys don't know this, but quali you're trying to get the fastest time possible. Ndio upate the most prime positions come race day. Yeah? Na I think it was a very interesting quali because tulipata some interesting results. The first one and
Nyamaza bwana.
and the most interesting one.
What, in Q2?
Q2. Both Red Bulls were knocked out.
Suanze kwanza na Q1 wenye alitoka Q1. Kwa nini unaanza tu Q2 na
Kwanza Q1 Hamilton aliponea chupuchupu.
uko na agenda.
Q1 Hamilton aliponea chupu. But there's nothing to talk about in Q1. Q2 is where the meat of the story was.
Piastri also was knocked out.
But wasn't he having a problem with his car or something like that?
Who?
No,
Piastri.
he was he didn't get a chance to go because of Stroll.
Oh, the Stroll crash and he messed up
yeah.
his quali.
Yeah, he was knocked out.
He dropped off in Q1. So Q1, the first 5 cars zenye zili drop off, Nani was part of it. Piastri was part of it.
Hey, Q2 bwana. Hey, endelea tu.
Yeah. So
Just rip the band-aid off.
Q2.
Nilifanyika Q2.
Apparently Red Bull walileta 4 Alpha Tauris on track. That is what happened in Q2. Na the Alpha Tauri that actually dominated ni the Liam Lawson one because hiyo ndio ilienda Q3 peke yake. The other 3.
Naenda party kiti next year.
The other 3. Liam Lawson ndio alikuwa hapo the dominant Red Bull and all the Alpha Tauris were Alpha Tauris. Unajua hizo Red Bull pia zilikuwa Alpha Tauri.
But I've heard that the Ricardo and Nani will be confirmed and Tsunoda.
Confirmed as in? Watapata kiti next season?
Yeah.
And that's unfair to Liam, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's wait for the official.
As you digress, question. Do you guys think Ricardo will replicate the results and the performances of Liam Lawson? Because Liam Lawson has had impressive performances since he took over. Or since he filled in, because he's filling in.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Ricardo has more experience, but Liam Lawson is younger. He's more hungry. But it's still too early to tell because we haven't seen Ricardo having enough airtime on that Alpha Tauri.
Airtime ama lap time?
Airtime, lap time, whatever, man.
Time.
Okay, so the both bulls were out in Q2. Na Q3 iliona the Ferraris again topping the times, lakini kulikuwa na one yenye ilikuwa ina stop the 1-2 Ferrari finish, and that was George Russell's Mercedes.
But George was good throughout the weekend.
Yeah, George had an impressive practice session and quali. Alikuwa na an impressive one. So we ended up seeing front row ya Sainz, George, Sainz in pole, George in P2.
Yep.
Then Leclerc a third, and was it Norris at
Norris
P4.
before,
Yeah, Hamilton coming into P5. And that was hiyo ndio ilikuwa setup ya race ya weekend. Na we all know about Singapore, the circuit, Marina Bay circuit. Na Marina Bay circuit kuna kwanga a dirty side of the track na a clean side of the track. So the guys when walikuwa P1 kama Sainz
watu pande chafu
walikuwa pande safi. Watu wengine walikuwa pande chafu akina George.
Oh yeah, it's the other way around.
The other way
P1 on the right.
Yeah. George was on the
Clean.
side.
Yeah. Hao ndio walikuwa pande chafu ya track. Hao wengine walikuwa pande safi ya track. And there was also an interesting thing that happened in quali.
What?
The Haas is getting into the top 10.
Hey, but they both of them, man. Mimi nilishtuka bwana. Kwanza kuna K-Mag ameingia top 10 ako Q3. How?
And ahead of Hülkenberg also.
How?
You think that's a new one?
Okay,
Hülkenberg has been flooring K-Mag when it comes to quali.
There's also a rumor that Hülkenberg was to go to replace Joe. Yeah. The what's that team called?
Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, they had interest. They were interested in
For
Hülkenberg.
next year's seat ama.
Yeah. But Gunda killed that.
Yeah. Remember there was a time like nasema Haas are no longer going for rookies. Now they want experienced folks. Because last year they tested like a little bit of blood. They were like, hey, kumbe we can get these points. And K-Mag can actually even be on pool. Remember Brazil? Wakasema, hey, sisi maneno ya rookie tumefunga.
So coming back to quali, even some guys were joking. You see the way Adrian Newey, like during the race starts, go to see other cars and taking notes. People are saying she should not focus on other cars other than Haas. Because it's funny thing, when you're in a track where you're doing poorly, and a car that does normally poorly is doing well on that track, you should really watch out for that. There's something about Haas that Red Bull can learn.
Iko kitu. Remember there was a day, I can't remember which specific race before Monaco. Remember there was a time Aiden alikuwa nyuma ya Williams. Kiangalia huko nyuma venye inakaa. Pause. Then kidogo tunaona RB19 wamekuja na diffuser inakaa Williams.
Yeah, that was an interesting spot by the way.
Hey, sometimes you just have to draw inspiration from venye tunasema. People who you don't expect to perform well all the time. But then this one weekend they're like, "Ala, something is different then." See what's going on.
But even Gooden doesn't know why they were fast.
Hey.
I guess the Ferrari energy is going to flow through them. The Ferrari energy is going to flow through them that weekend because again their engines are their engines are,
and it's not just engines. There's also bodywork.
Yeah.
I think also the suspension is Ferrari. So there was something Ferrari going on at Singapore.
There was a success flowing their blood streams. Anyway, with that said, kulikuwa na a hot topic during quali, and the hottest topic of all was Verstappen's 3 breaches. Verstappen's 3 breaches na alitoka unscathed. So this was actually interesting for me because Verstappen alikuwa na 3 mishappenings. He had impeded twice. He had 2 impensions, if I may call them that. Now, what was the third one? The third one was actually a pit lane incident.
Okay, I remember the pit lane and that with the one with Tsunoda. I don't remember the other one.
Yeah, there were 3. And alitoka with just a telling off.
What do you mean? Alipewa fine.
Fine, hiyo ni telling off kwa
the team was
Verstappen.
No, it still cost Verstappen and the team something.
Yeah, it was the team's fault.
Yeah. Na many will argue favorism kidogo. Juu
Many wataje sema nyakina nani?
the cult number 1 atifosi. I am on you guys side. Leo na watetea.
Akina nani hao?
Yeah. Akina Charles Leclerc. If it was Charles Leclerc amefanya hizo vitu, Verstappen amefanya 3 grid position place penalty.
Hiyo ni uongo bana.
Na first things first. Wewe kwanza tuongelele hii kitu. We have to talk about this.
What?
Mimi niko na theory. I have a theory.
About that
the car he impeded was an Alpha Tauri, yeah? Na you know relationship ya Alpha Tauri na Red Bull. Ni Red Bull sister team. Mbona Alpha Tauri wakupeleka representatives kuona stewards?
They had nothing to gain.
You know, this is what I'm thinking, yeah?
They had nothing to gain.
Red Bulls had very bad qualification. Walikuwa like, you guys, baby. Utajipanga. Then Alpha Tauri were like, you know what? We don't want to see you guys punished more. Hatutaki penalties tena because that will mean more work for Max come the race weekend. We don't want to see you dropping places on the grid. So we'll just let it slide.
But it happens. There's also another incident where a representative didn't show up, and it wasn't at another AlphaTauri and Red Bull case. Sometimes, just the Mushiri saying, if you have nothing to gain, just let it slide, man. It's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time,
Yeah.
Well,
but hey, who knows? Maybe Red Bull. Someone somewhere was pulling the strings.
That was basically it for Quali Day, bringing us straight into the meat of the event.
Tumalize Singapore haraka bana.
Race weekend. Amutaniharakisha. Race weekend. Aya, what happened in turn 1? Watu wa George, mafanzo George. Nini li happen turn 1? Ama lights out during lights out. Because George alikuwa ama wataanza kuteta dark side, I mean dirty side of the track.
Yeah.
Hapana. Charles alikuwa na softs.
Yeah, also Charles had soft.
Alipiga nyongolo kwa hiyo turn 1. Kwa hiyo start.
I don't know what happened.
Now,
you know what? Statistically, like si unajua the Amazon thing, the statistics blah blah blah. When they were reviewing the restart, the start of the race, walikuwa nasema George actually had the best start of the race.
Ni sawa lakini uko na mediums na mwenye alikunyonga kwa na softs. What do you expect?
Best start. Because in turn 1 I just saw Charles zooming past him. Hata hakusumbuana.
It's the soft.
And I remember we talked about it kwa space on Thursday. I mean on Friday. I remember us talking on the space na tulikuwa like turn 1. George, yo turn 1 tu hivi. Turn 1.
Lazima.
Return the place to its rightful owner. Return the place to its return the place. Yeah, you are uko hapo for decoration.
Yeah.
P2 ilikuwa hapo for decoration. P2 was there for decoration. George
kuonyesha inclusion kwa front row.
Yeah. Yani wakipiga picha, you know how they take a photo hapo Singapore, hapo before si mnakwanga kwa hiyo straight na cameraman anakwanga huko turn 1. Sasa hiyo picha ikipigwa itaonekana ilikuwa a black car and a red car.
A scarlet.
You will not be talking like that if George finished.
Bro, kwanza hatujafika towards the end of the race. Hatujafika towards the umekuja na hating energy. Umevaa nini? Umekuja tu na some hating energy leo.
But on
na you're in Ferrari colors na you're hating lakini ni sawa.
On
This is papaya.
On the stats, that's papaya.
Okay.
It's
anything other than red. It's anything other than Ferrari.
Hiyo ni ile red ya Red Bull. Ile
nice.
Yeah. So on the stats, of course Charles would it wasn't even a matter of turn 1.
Yeah.
It was which turn or which straight within lap 1 was Charles going to get George. Yeah. So George started on mediums. Carlos was also on mediums, right? Yeah. And Charles was on softs. So if you're on softs, brand new softs, and the person in front of you just a few meters ahead are on brand new mediums, na ni kuanza na softs zako ziko sawa, you'll get him. So it was just a matter of when.
Yeah, interesting one. And what are your thoughts
about that?
Turn 1 incident. Turn 1 unajua kuna maneno mingi sana.
Nyongwa.
So the other incident of turn 1 is the Hamilton incident.
Premeditated.
He tried to do the Alonso thing on Spain, but he didn't go off the road early. You see, if he didn't want to get a penalty, there's a place where you're supposed to start going to run off, but he did it in the middle of it. So he had to give back the position. But I don't think he said...
Who was Hamilton. He supposed to give the position back to? Because that is where the issue comes in. Because George wasn't the only one complaining.
The people who
Lando
you
complained
overtook.
a lot. Actually, Lando alicomplain kuliko vile George alicomplain. Na George ndo alikuwa deserve the place more than Lando.
No, both of them.
Okay, both of them deserved. But okay, in my point of view, both of them deserved it. Now, I know watu wa cult beg to differ because they're like, Norris did not deserve that. Nah, you can say what you want to say, but Lando Norwins
is it cult or you? You know you're a hater of Lando.
No, you haven't talked. You haven't spoken to Mercedes fans. You haven't had the points of view. Unapoongea na Mercedes fans ujua wanasemaje. Like they weren't really happy on what.
Oh, that Hamilton gave position to Norris.
Yeah.
Hey, why? How?
Yeah,
hey,
like sisi objective nimewadisa hapo. But
maliza Kenya unasema bwana.
Objective race watchers tulikuwa tunaona pia Lando na deserve kurudishiwa because na I think you guys umesema huyu kwanza alikuwa anawaingililia. Si niliwaambia this is the enemy.
No,
the enemy was saying
the
enemy was saying ati Hamilton amepremeditate.
Yeah, that was premeditated.
Could you give us insights why?
Okay. the reason I'm saying it was premeditated is because Hamilton, from the moment he decided to brake, his intention was not to complete, or the moment he decided to make that overtake on George and Norris, his intention was never to complete that move on track. Nayo ni kitu alijua race ikianza.
Alikuwa shaangalia
No,
yesterday.
Previous day.
he pulled the same move yenye George alipull Barcelona. Pali wamekaa na Toto. I'm going to I won't stick to the track. I'm going to nitapenya huko kwa runoff, lakini nyinyi mnitetee. Nisipeane hizo positions. It was the same move, premeditated.
Yenye unasema, hey, look, I was pushed off track, there's nothing I could have done.
Premeditated.
Yeah. Tena una maintain your momentum, because momentum is a key factor hapa, because these are very tricky turns.
Yep. Yeah. He didn't unajua ile una break kidogo alafu unaona sawa. Yeah. I'm safe. Kwa kamera wameona at least lilijaribu.
Red light, wameona red light.
Akakanyaga mafuta. That was premeditated, man.
Bro, I've never thought about it like that. Lakini najua premeditated moves inakwanga tabia Alonso. Fernando Alonso ndiye anakwanga na hizo tabia.
Personally, I will not blame Hamilton for doing. You have to try.
What do you mean?
When you are racing, you do everything you can to win. Even if you remember in Monza, the Mercedes decided we're gonna take the 5-second penalty, but we're gonna floor it. You do everything you can to win. Me, I'm always for the driver who does everything that is in his disposal to win, so long as you don't pick a penalty. So for Hamilton trying that, I don't blame him. But also, there were no results to say in this scenario. Is where you try something, it doesn't yield results. Yeah. So it's good to try. But at least for this time, he gave back the position. Unlike in Monza.
Somewhere in the race, lap 24-25, alifanya the same thing to Checo. For ile nitonga ni I service ama ni what? Kuoneshana to attempt the move. But your intention is to complete the overtake off the track. Napo Perez nakumbuka alikuwa kwa radio. Wewe bana, hebu ambie msee bana nirudishie place yangu.
First things first, Perez akwangi aggressive.
Perez anazusha. But your time yenyeka alikuwa kamenuka because it was right after the virtual safety car. And everyone was marking the Red Bull.
Because you guys are not pitted. Na taa zenyu zilikwanga ilikuwa noma.
And that was my worry. Starting on hards. Safety car restart on hard. It's gonna give you headache.
Yeah.
It always gives you headache.
But in I thought to say in hindsight, because in hindsight, that gamble didn't pay off.
Yeah.
But when you race to Ilianzas in Kona, they've removed the tire warmers in Kona Red Bull, both drivers on hards. I was like, God damn, the race is on.
What?
God damn, the race is on.
Really? Inatupeleka kwa segment ingine yenye actually in fact wewe ndio umetufungulia hiyo segment tire strategies na race strategy ya that weekend.
Yeah. I was like, God damn, the race is on. Because Red Bull had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
They call it P11 and P. Was it
P13? P13, no? P11, P12, yeah, P13.
P13. Red Bull had nothing to lose. As in, the best they could get. As in, just being honest. And here I'm measuring my optimism. If Red Bull decided to start on the same tires like everyone else, the highest we would have gone is P7.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So you actually do think the overcut strategy ilikuwa something?
Yes.
Ilikuwa something yenye ingewapatia the best possible result.
If that gamble paid off, Max would have had track position. Because you see the thing the interesting thing or what was actually playing into Red Bull's hand before the first virtual safety car was Carlos was actually bunching everyone up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So everyone above Max actually were within a 10-second gap.
Yeah.
And all those folks were on mediums.
Yeah.
So if they had a window to pit, it would be like 4 laps or maybe 3 laps. Sometimes even everyone can even decide to dip in the pits within 2 laps. Max would have done the overcut. Yeah. Now, the RB19 has been good at conserving its tires. So Max probably would have decided, let me get into maybe a bit of tire conservation. Because by the time guys try to catch up to Max and he would have extended his stint, it means he would have like a 2-digit gap. Yeah. Now, by the time the hards were falling off, or by the time the hards were supposed to fall off when they had been 19, and they hopped onto the mediums, they would have lost a couple of places maybe to now maybe the Ferraris and the whatever. And the Ferraris at that time would have been on hards, and the Red Bulls would have been on mediums, and they would have chased these folks and maybe completed the job that Mercedes were unable to complete.
That would have worked if there was no safety car.
But goddamn,
Yeah.
Singapore
But
Nah, actually, funny enough, pia
record.
ingework na safety car because imagine the safety car. The safety car ilikuja lap around 40 something.
The first one.
Nasema imagine if the safety car ingekuja
Yeah.
lap 40 something.
Yep.
Red Bull wangekuwa tu race ni yao. Because did you guys have a set of softs?
No, they wouldn't even have put soft, even if they
Mediums,
did.
yeah.
No, they didn't
Yeah,
have.
mediums pia
was
zilikuwa
enough,
fast because Mercedes waleka mediums na muliona venye walikuwa wanakaa.
Yep.
But
They were
for
rapid.
Mercedes, they were new mediums.
Yeah.
Yeah, zilikuwa scrap mediums zilikuwa new. Imagine they had new buda walikuwa wanakaa fast. Anyway, tire strategies. Now speaking of strategies, Ferrari wali employ a very unique strategy. Na hiyo strategy ilikuwa off the go. Kulikuwa na moja ata defend the race na mwingine ata manage the race. Because Sainz started on mediums.
Yep.
Na Leclerc started on softs. So off the chain tulikuwa tunajua they are trying something different for both drivers. They're not trying to do the same strategy for both drivers.
Yep.
And I think that's primarily because the guys who are around them walikuwa fast people. McLaren na Mercedes. Mercedes were looking fast na McLaren pia walikuwa fast. Yeah?
Yep.
So they had to know how they were going to manage the race. This coming from a team who wamekuwa na a lot of issues when it comes to strategy. Yeah? Na we saw them na I think safety car ilikuja mapema sana. Courtesy of, was it Yuki?
No,
No, the first one.
Logan.
Logan.
We
Yeah,
predicted
Logan
in the last
by
pod,
the last podcast kama
Damn you, Logan.
kusikiliza the Pitboard endo sikilize episode, was it 15 plus 15? That was episode plus 15.
Yep.
Yeah, Logan Sargent alileta safety car kwanza na Ferrari decided to double stack.
Hapo kuna
there
kama
was
mchezo fulani Sainz na Charles walicheza.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry.
No,
so,
it didn't work for Charles.
yeah, Charles but
Take
you
it away.
But you see, Charles shafted himself and he deserves it.
Yeah.
Tutaongelelea
He deserves it.
kujipeana. Tutaongelea venye alijipeana but we uko na kitu unataka kusema, just
Okay,
spit
so
it out.
For the strategy, okay, I'm going to speak about two things. First of all, the safety car double stacking. Charles made a mistake. He tried to hold back the other cars so that apate a space to pit. The problem with that is once you are in there, the cars that you had blocked off, now they are passing. You have to wait until they pass.
Sneaky.
Yeah.
If you compare that with the Mercedes double stack,
Yep.
Lewis waited just at the nini
Yep.
outside the box so that anaweza ingia after George leaves, and that worked for him.
Sneaky.
So there Charles hapo he
Basically
shafted himself.
kenye Mushiri anajaribu kusema ni Charles akiingia, okay, because again another factor to this ni position ya paddock yenu. That is another pit crew yenu pale iko position. Remember yo pale unamaliza ndio pale pit crew yako inakuanga. So the first one of course ni Red Bull. The second one ni the Ferrari one, the Evo according to the Constructors Championship when zilimaliza na pit wall ya pit lane ya this time round kila pit crew imepangwa based on results for last year. So the first one was Red Bull, the second one was Ferrari. So if Charles holds up people tena akiingia these other guys watapita. So by the time anamaliza the 2 seconds akitoka anapata something called traffic.
Yeah.
Kwa lanes. Now that's a bad thing. Lakini angekuja tu afanye kitu yake haraka. Chances are
he couldn't because Sainz was there.
yeah, Sainz was there but angekuja tu bado because
If he did like
ingekuwa-
the Mercedes.
yeah. Sainz angetoka yeye akimaliziwa, chances are labda kuna gari tu moja ingekuwa imepita mbele yake.
Yeah, the cars behind would not be close to each other.
Hazingekuwa zimekaribia na hiyo. Kungekuwa labda na only one car.
Here's a sneaky thing about Ferrari. Your Sunday. Now, before the virtual safety car, race engineer Charles told Charles, you need to maintain a 3-second gap between you and Carlos. Yeah. Now, to me, that was the first indication that Ferrari are up to no good here. There's no way Charles is on softs, he's under a second, and he's not making an overtake on Carlos. To me, I was like, what the hell is going on? Are these people racing? No. they're up to something. Now, when the race engine was like, yo, Ebu maintain that 3-second gap. So at first I thought maybe Charles, his tires were overheating, or maybe they just wanted to protect Charles. They didn't want him to have higher tire degradation. But the 3-second was still suspicious. Then, so at that point I was thinking, okay, maybe Charles wants to bunch everyone up behind Carlos so that Carlos can get into tire conservation mode. Just the same thing Carlos wanted to do at Monza. Yeah. But now the safety car, I remember before the virtual safety car, the gap between Carlos and Charles was 4.5 seconds.
The second safety car, virtual safety.
The first safety.
The first one was a full safety car.
Now, before Carlos got into the pits, the time was 11 seconds. And I was asking myself, where did Carlos gain these 7 seconds? And at that point, I knew Charles intentionally decided to bunch everyone up behind him.
Yeah.
And I was asking myself then, at what cost? Because to me, again, I was wondering, now you're bunching everyone up behind, then you'll be stuck in the pit lane just to save Carlos. To me, it didn't make sense. But I was like, yeah, okay, maybe it was bad timing. Maybe the flag came out when maybe Carlos was accelerating or something. But to me, that was really fishy. Carlos gained 7 seconds. But now, it also, in my honest opinion, I think it also shafted Max. Because...
Yeah, actually,
Max
hizo safety cars zote zilipeana Max.
Max didn't pit in
yeah,
the
he didn't
first.
pit. But everyone behind Charles lost time to Carlos.
Yeah.
And remember when Carlos was exiting the pit lane, how close was he to Max?
I see what you mean.
They were really close. I am pretty sure if Charles didn't bunch everyone up, Max angepita Carlos kwa pit lane. As in, it's just thing as in you see these guys are doing something fishy.
Ndio maana you're the insightful one.
Yeah,
So
you're like, these guys are doing something fishy and you can't point it out.
Ferrari strategy worked for them, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
It shafted
Again,
Charles.
yeah.
It shafted
Yeah.
Charles.
Yeah, they shafted Charles.
But I think the first person to call it, I think wewe unaisema sahi, but even in the race kuna mtu alikuwa ameona kitu kaa yenye unaongelea sahi.
I think it was George was
Russell.
also like, wait,
Something
what's
is going on
yeah,
here.
there's something fishy going
And he was
on.
like, we actually do think Ferrari are trying to sacrifice Charles.
Yeah. Now,
I saw the memes.
And do you know Ferrari wali post a very suspicious message yenye all but confirmed what George was saying. Wali post on their socials, waliandika, congratulations Charles, such a team player. You don't just post
wait.
kitu kaa hiyo.
Has Charles been given the number 2 position now?
hey, now it looks like
Niliwaambia hivi. Sacrifice. Niliwaambia hivi. I told you when was it? Niliwaambia kitambo a few episodes ago, like 4, 5, 6 episodes ago. There has never been a number 1 driver at Ferrari. Unakumbuka nikisema kitu kaa hiyo?
Except
There's
Yeah,
no
I remember,
except. Na niliwaambia hata contract talks zilikuwa hold, ziliputiwa on hold zote up to the end of the year after AD23. You see me? So, you feel me? So, the only thing I'm seeing here sasa ni kwa hizo contract negotiations at the end of the year. Somebody atakuja na kifua pumped kidogo. Kuna mtu atakuja na an inflated
Carlos.
chest. Yeah, he deserves it. I actually do think he deserves it. I don't know if you guys know, but Carlos has worked extra hard. Now, it was revealed, mimi nilijua this weekend, it was revealed that his favorite track is actually Marina Bay Circuit.
oh really?
Yeah, and he works extra hard to try and win that circuit. That's the circuit kwake, hiyo ndio his crown jewel.
really?
Yeah, and he hata kwa interview hukusikia kiulizwa, we know you've been working hard specifically, especially for this track. You love Singapore. Akasema yeah, I've been working hard, nini, the late nights, the simulation late nights, nini. I think this one was iconic to him for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know if it has sentimental value to him, but he on his bucket list, niko sure hiyo ndio ilikuwa top the charts, and he won it.
Hats off to him, man.
Hats off to him. Yeah. But we can't let this slide. We have to talk about how much of a different animal he's been since the summer break.
Since
been
this,
on it.
yeah,
And you prompted me on that question. You asked me what happened to Leclerc, because Leclerc is the quali master at Ferrari, but apparently Carlos is outperforming him even on qualis.
So okay, first of all, when Sainz was teammate with Max, Like let's say if you look
Back
at
at Toro Rosso, currently Alpha Tauri.
when in terms of quali, it was like Max was taking like 52%, and then Carlos 47. They were almost evenly matched, and from that time, I knew Carlos was a good driver. Actually, I would say Carlos is the toughest teammate Max has ever had. Then he went to.
Oh, that's a bold claim. You don't think Danny Rick deserves a shout up on Danny?
No one. And I'm a big fan of Daniel Ricciardo. If you look at head to head of all Max teammates, Carlos is the one who gave him the hardest
So
time.
this is a statistical POV.
Yes.
Okay.
So he went to McLaren. There Lando was like a small bro to him. The way he was, the gap he was giving to Lando.
Yeah.
And then he came in his first season with Charles. He pipped Charles in points. He lost to Charles in the second season. Now in the third season, we see him like he's a different kind of guy. So for looking at Sainz doing all that, it reminds me of he was actually almost as good as Verstappen. So him coming there and especially this year and the way he's driving, especially after the summer break, hats off to him. He's a world-class driver.
I think personally, Carlos is part of the group that we call underrated drivers, or the group I call underrated drivers. Carlos is on that group together with Akina Pierre Gasly. I also think Pierre Gasly is part of that group.
Okay.
Yeah, and I honestly do believe his hard work is starting to pay off. He's starting to pay off. His hard work is starting to pay off eventually. And two things will either happen. Either Leclerc will keep falling off, or Leclerc will also pull up his socks, because Leclerc is fast. And listen, don't let what happened at Singapore and Monza fool you. Leclerc is still faster than Carlos. Though, Leclerc is still faster than Carlos. I'm ready to die on that hill. But there is something else. There is something that Carlos has that Leclerc doesn't have. Racecraft. And we got to see that this weekend. We got to see racecraft utilized to its most effectiveness this weekend. Something we haven't seen really this year, all year long. Because majority of the year, like I said, Max has had a chokehold on the season together with Red Bull. They've been winning purely on dominance and strategy. Yeah, but with Carlos, we got to see his experienced side self, his understanding of racing. Because racing isn't just about having the fast car; it's also about being intelligent.
Yep.
Remember, F1 is high-speed chess. Don't forget that. F1 is high-speed chess. Quote me on that. And 2 laps to go. The Mercedes guys were looking fast as hell. They were just picking the field apart. Yeah. And if Carlos went to them toe-to-toe racing, if he raced them toe-to-toe,
wasted.
Yeah, he would have missed out on the podium places.
Yep.
Because I think his tires had given up, his tires had given in, and he had to be strategic. And I remember, I have it written down. Let me, in terms of difficulty.
What are you looking for? What Sainz said?
No, strategy in terms of difficulty. There is racing strategy, like overtaking at Singapore. We all know how hard it is to overtake at Singapore.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I had it ranked. What is from the easiest to the most difficult overtaking situations. And just a second, let me pull it up.
They said you needed a delta of like a second.
Okay,
To do
so
what?
difficulty per overtake type.
To overtake.
Yeah.
I had George and Hamilton say 1.5.
1.5.
So
Yeah.
this
That's
is
so high.
difficulty per overtake type. Per overtake type, yeah? On a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 being easy, and 1 to 5. 1 being easy and 5 being hard. Yeah? Being difficult. So the easiest was when the driver ahead had DRS, the driver behind had DRS, and the driver ahead had no DRS. Yeah? No DRS. That is the easiest overtake type at Singapore. Meaning the driver ahead, he's just racing his race. Now the driver behind has DRS on the driver ahead. The driver behind will actually have an easier overtake than the other overtakes I'm about to mention. So katikati, the middle one, let's give it a 3 in terms of difficulty in overtaking, executing an overtake. Both drivers with DRS. Now the driver ahead has DRS and the driver behind also has DRS.
DRS train.
Yeah. that will be a difficult overtake to execute.
Yep.
Now, the third one, or the hardest overtake to
God
execute, this is when both with DRS and both. The second one is both without DRS. When it's just pure racecraft, sasa. The second one is both drivers without DRS, not with DRS, without DRS. Like both drivers are racing, they have no DRS. It's now about pace of the car and your positioning in terms of entry into a corner and exit. Yeah. Now the third one, or the hardest to execute, is both with DRS, because both cars are moving at high levels of speed. It's really hard to overtake that. So with that in mind, Carlos alikuwa anajua hii off the top of his head. He's a driver at the end of the day, and he's racing arguably at the highest level. Yeah. So the final few laps, he was ahead. Behind him, he was ahead on hards which had potentially given out. Nyuma yake ilikuwa Norris was on mediums. He was on a faster car. Yeah, Norris was on mediums.
I thought Norris was on hards.
Yeah.
Norris was on hards.
Yeah.
But he was he was
on hards.
He was on hards.
Yeah.
But hards za Carlos zilikuwa zisha give out. Na he was losing time to Norris. Carlos Sainz was actually losing time to Norris.
The tire age was almost the same.
Yeah. Na anasema he was losing time because I think tire ilikuwa imecatch up na nini.
No, he wasn't. Carlos
was slower than Norris.
No, Carlos was able to maintain the gap between him and Norris. Now the only time now Carlos had to do something about it was when the Mercedes decided to do a 2-stop. But Carlos had this thing on lock.
Mercedes walichukua 2-stop na wakachukua faster tires, the faster medium tires.
Yeah.
Both of them walichukua the faster medium tires. Na I think kulikuwa na gap ya something close to 20 seconds by the time walikuwa nachukua hiyo, by the time walikuwa na exit the pit na medium tires.
I think it was 12. Potato.
No, it was more.
It was
more than 12.
closer to 20. Yeah. It was closer to 20. Ilikuwa a very big
like 18. It was like 18 hivi.
Okay.
Yeah. Na nakumbuka a whole chunk of that time ilikuwa recovered during the first lap with a new set of mediums.
The fresh air.
Yeah. They also on fresher air. The first lap wali recover. Sa ilifika point 2 laps to go. Carlos, like you said, had to do something about it. Now what did he do? He decided to play the game against them. Instead of them chasing him, he decided to stack them up together. There were 4 cars now. Wote walikuwa separated by a margin of like something close to 0.7 seconds. 1 to 4. Walikuwa separated na 0.7 seconds.
Yeah, it was
that's
within
really
a
close.
second.
That's really close. Na kuweka pamoja, that means Norris is P2 and the 2 Red Bulls, the 2 Mercedeses are at P3 and P4 respectively. That is George and Hamilton. Na Norris was breathing down Carlos Sainz's neck at this point, yeah? Now, the Mercedes are trying to overtake each other because I think Hamilton was trying to get past George. Now, George was also trying to defend from Hamilton whilst trying to pass Norris. So, Norris had something else on his plate. Instead of chasing fast, alikuwa kwanza anaangalia his mirrors because George was on his tail. George was on his tail vibaya sana. Now, Hamilton was also on his tail. And I think some Mercedes fans will agree with me on this. I think Hamilton angepatiwa hiyo.
Yep.
Angepatiwa hiyo front nini because
you don't take away podium from a person.
Nobody will agree. We would agree.
No, I don't think you should tell a driver who is on podium to give that position.
At the end of the day, musema hivi. If you wanted to be the guy ahead, unge qualify you.
Yeah.
Saturday.
But anyway, Hamilton alikuwa graceful about it. Na he let George try and make something of it. Now, I think George was about to make that overtake on Norris.
No, he wasn't even close to making that overtake.
Nah, alikuwa ameona P2 in his eyes. Yeah, alikuwa ameona P2. Then the only thing he saw, no, he had seen a gap. You know, he had seen a gap.
between A and P.
George alikuwa ameona gap. The only gap he saw ni barrier ya Singapore. You know,
between
Singapore
Singer and Paul.
Singapore. That's the only gap he saw. In a split second.
Man, last lap.
But aligonga cup vibaya. Just
unfortunate, man.
Just Yeah?
So
Was it the final lap?
Yeah, it was the last lap.
Bro.
it was like the second last.
No, it was the last lap.
No, it was the last lap.
It was the last lap.
Yeah. Na it was the lap alikuwa anaenda akimaliza hiyo kona ama akimaliza those two turns because there were two turns.
Those are
Akimaliza-
delicious streets.
Yeah, alikuwa akimaliza those two turns. Yeye na Norris.
Eh,
Yeye na Norris. He was going to reclaim his P2 that
Yep.
he actually,
yeah.
relinquished.
But we can talk about the Carlos, what he did, giving Norris DRS, even if he lost time. Norris lost time defending
Yeah.
Russell.
You're still getting the benefit of
Sainz slowed down
Yeah.
for Norris to catch up for the DRS. But what essentially Sainz was doing is holding up the pack so that if you decide to pit, you will come up behind like 10 cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really impressive.
Yeah, for a street circuit, that is well executed, because that is you can't do that in Spa. You can't do that in some other circuits, but in Monaco and Singapore you can do it. And I would say that was impressive.
Yeah.
To me,
And what impressed me most, and I talked about it in space, when Sainz got out after taking pole, even after winning, he was not like, yes, you have won, and he was like, it's about damn time. And where have you been all this time? It's like, when you work for something so hard, when it comes, you're not like overjoyed. You're like, what took you so long?
Finally.
You're not like
It was like final. It's more of a relief.
yeah.
It's more of a relief than a celebration,
long. Yeah, it took so long to come.
Hey.
And the way the bromance even continued
Hey.
with Nani.
But one thing for sure, what we learned from that, the last 5 laps of that race, is Mercedes still have that winning mentality within them, because it took balls to make that gamble. It took some balls.
They talked about having fresh mediums.
Yeah,
Even on Saturday.
yeah.
do you guys think it was an unnecessary gamble? Because you see, by the time they were pitting, they were P2 and P4.
Yeah.
So they decided to give track position to gamble
For the win. Yeah.
As I always say, I will
listen,
always
it's a gamble
defend,
that didn't pay off.
always defend somebody who is trying to do
yes. But you see, it ended up costing George. I'm not saying that if they were still stuck on hards, Mercedes couldn't have mounted a challenge. But you see, it costed George even more. And in the post-race interview, Hamilton was asked the same question around, in hindsight, pitting for the source or doing the 2-stop. Was it a good idea or something? Hamilton was like, no. Meaning
He said no.
You said no.
Yeah.
And that's why he got the podium. Okay.
No, he got the podium because George went for a gap.
Yeah, George went for the gap, and the only gap he saw again, the Singapore gap.
But in George's defense, when you're racing, and I'm going to speak from the experience that I've had with sim racing, when you're that close to someone, you're not fixated on looking ahead. You're fixated on your gap between you and this person, especially when you're getting close to a corner. You have to anticipate at what time are they going to brake. Yeah. So since you're the guy behind, you have to brake a little bit early. But if you are attacking, you try and brake at a point where you're maintaining the gap, or you're reducing that gap between you and the other person. Now, unfortunately, George was fixated on Lando's gearbox. And when Lando aliguza the wall with his front right, George was also on the same trajectory. But George came off worse. Lando actually had a steering offset problem after
he also
hitting
clipped the
wall.
same.
Yeah. So, hey, it's a lesson that George...
Learn the hard
Learn
way
the
with
hard
tears. Bitter tears, man.
Hey, man, alilia. Huyo mtu alilia. Wezi niambia kulia.
Nah, Lilia, see, kwani you didn't see?
Alilia?
Yeah, he did cry.
Ala.
This is George we're talking about, man. He has to cry.
Princess George.
Yeah, princess. Anyway, that brings us to, I think we've talked about everything so far. Now, we have to go to driver and team of the day. Hamdai kuongea? We special segment today. Dan's driver and team of the day. Dan, take it away.
My driver of the day, Carlos.
Wrong button.
Amenifinyia nini?
Applause.
Yeah. Carlos, so he just wasn't quick on Sunday, but from Friday and Saturday, he was the man to beat that weekend.
Shake my hand, bro. Shake my hand. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the man to beat that weekend. And if you ask yourself the same question, if you ask yourself this question, if it was Charles in those shoes, do you think Charles would have pulled off that masterclass of a race?
I honestly don't think so. Yeah. Honestly, I honestly don't think so. What about you? Your driver? Oh, team of the day? Sorry.
Team of the day. Ferrari. I'd say excellent race execution. And they're getting that because Red Bull just had a really bad weekend.
Shake my hand again.
Hey.
I'm being objective, man.
One mwenye unamuulizanga driver of the day, Max. You know?
Although Max did have a good second stint.
Yeah, he did.
No, but hey, shout out. Speaking of stints, shout out to Oscar Piastri.
Yep.
From P17 to P7.
God damn.
Yo, that's not a joke. That's
I wonder what would have happened if he
qualified better.
Yeah, if Lance didn't crash.
Yeah. Anyway, your driver and team of the day?
So driver of course it's Carlos, and I'm sure we have talked about it.
Shake my hand.
No need to repeat.
Shake my hand.
I'm very wary of your shaking.
Respect.
Handshakes.
Respect time talk happy.
Respect us.
Team of the day.
Yeah.
I don't want to give. No, wait. The thing with Charles, sort of cancels the nini.
Okay, give me a better team.
This one sneaky people. Ferrari, sneaky people.
Give us team of the day. Nataka kuona hii team gani unaenda kupea.
Okay.
Mushiri, just rip the band-aid off na tusonge.
Yeah.
I admit.
Yeah. You've heard it, folks. The championship leaders they have acknowledged us. So yeah, as for me, unajua obviously kuna anthem ya Ferrari chezwe.
Ngoja. Si ulisema wewe ni mtu wa Red Bull na tukakukubali?
Hebu anthem ya Ferrari endelee kuchezwa. Yeah. Spaghetti. Anyway, so that's basically it. Lakini there's something nilikuwa nataka tugusililia kidogo.
Hey, melon of the day mtu wangu bana.
You want to talk about it? Okay. Yeah. George haraka tusonge.
Says pia George.
Okay. Melon of the day.
Anza na Mushiri kwanza. Sijafikiria.
Mr. No Cup. Melon of the day.
Charles. I don't think he should have been fighting Carlos in the first stint.
Was he?
He wasn't even fighting Carlos.
Was he?
He was always on his DRS.
Wewe ulikuwa unaona.
He wasn't fighting.
He wasn't fighting Carlos.
On first stint when he was on soft.
He wasn't fighting Carlos.
He decided to turn down his ambitions.
Yeah.
Ya kushinda race.
No, he was always on nini.
Yeah, but
Carlos
that doesn't
DRS.
really mean
He wasn't attacking at all. He was just stuck behind there.
Hakuna point in
Wait. When a driver is within a second, he is not attacking?
No, he's
attacking
not.
is when you're attacking.
He didn't make any move.
We know you're attacking. You can
And
see
he's
you're
on
attacking.
soft.
He didn't do anything.
Did you see him making any move?
He couldn't because this is Carlos you're talking about. We saw what he did in Monza.
So he's not attacking.
Rumors. Yeah,
He wasn't attacking at all.
Okay.
Ferrari up to sneaky
Chemi za
business.
uongo.
Even okay. Now the other that's not the only reason. The other one is the double stack. It wasn't well executed.
Okay. Because it's your melon of the day.
Yeah, because if he wanted to like maintain his position, you could have done what Hamilton did.
Okay.
Like come nini. And then that I'm thinking I don't have the facts. The overheating of the engine.
Oh yeah, he did drop off.
Was a result of Nini staying like very close to Nini Carlos. Yeah.
So
he paid the price.
So when I look at all of that, Sainz, Carlos could have easily taken P2. Yeah.
Your melon of the day?
Team Mercedes. Hakukuja kushangilia Hamilton podium.
Wait, I heard they were there.
No, they were not there.
We didn't see them on TV, but the people who were there, they saw Nini, they were there. The Mercedes guys
editor,
were there.
scratch that.
Who's your team of the day? Hey, melon
of the day. I'm looking for any reason not to give it to Red Bull.
I don't think Red Bull will come melon of the day. They just had bad weekend.
I just have to give it to Red Bull.
Yeah.
They couldn't find the setup.
Yeah. And it's something in
Ngoja nikasija kusikia vizuri. Ati melons of the day?
Red Bull.
An applause.
Applause.
Hey, you pressed the wrong button.
ulikuwa unataka nimfanyie nini? Si amshangilia ring. Namshangilia. Melons of the day. Umepea Red Bull?
Yeah, napea Red Bull.
That's big of you, bro.
No, I'm
We are not cult.
Yeah.
We are not in a cult.
Umesema you're being gracious.
yeah.
We're not in a cult.
Hakuna mtu mwingine anaweza pea.
Okay.
As much as we expected Red Bull to have a tough weekend, yeah. Even them, they even said after the race that they were expecting this to be a tough weekend for them. But could they have done something different on Friday? Immediately, Max and Checo started having the same, when they were reporting the same issues oversteer. Could they have done something different? Yes, they did. But they went down a rabbit hole, which they couldn't dig themselves out of.
Okay.
Come Saturday, quali. And I saw an interesting thread on Reddit. Do they call it threads? How many posts? There's someone who commented and said, sprint weekends, Red Bull usually struggle to find a decent setup. So I don't know if it's the program that Red Bull run.
Sprint ama street.
Sprint weekends.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you see, sprint weekends, you don't have enough time. Same thing to what happened this time. As in from FP1, shit is just hitting the fan. And then you're compounding the problem. By one, they introduced a new flow. You're still trying to figure out this flow. Is it the one that's causing whatever issues that you're having? Max mtu anapendanga oversteer na complain bana way. This car
like driving on ice.
Yeah.
Bambi.
Yeah. Singapore, the track itself, 90 degrees, it's a bumpy circuit. So what is it the floor? Is it ride height? Is it suspension? Is it the balance of the car? So I fingers crossed next year when they're faced with the same kind of situation, they'll do something different. But Red Bull is my melon of the day, man.
Interesting. Well, personally, my melon of the day is Fernando Alonso.
Oh,
I never thought
Because of the Godzilla?
Nah, not the Godzilla incident. Yeah, he paid for his sins after running over Godzilla.
he had a stinker.
He had a
No,
stinker
he
for-
had damage from It's not.
Hata
Is
pit-
it Sonoda's
hata pit-
ama nani?
pit stop yake.
Logan.
Yeah.
Pit stop yake pia haikuwa very impressive. Ilikuanga hivi.
Yeah,
The second one.
he had a 30-second pit stop or something.
Yeah.
But Aston
Oh,
Martin,
yeah, I remember.
But Aston Martin, I don't know. You see, they introduced this small wing
Update.
element at the gearbox hapo nyuma.
The washdown. Need a washdown. Walita washdown.
And that thing, you don't use it now. You have to be very delicate when you're jacking up the car from behind.
Yeah.
Now I think this being the first race, and you're still trying. You know, before the season begins, they usually practice these two things.
Yeah.
Now, when you bring an update that is going to affect a critical role, it's just something simple as lifting up the car. There's a possibility that you might actually mess up a pit stop. Yeah. And this was one place where everything went wrong.
You know,
They couldn't get the car up.
The rear?
The rear side of the car.
First of all, it was the front right. They had a problem fitting that tire. And also the rear right. And it was all because lifting up the car ilikuwa normal. So you introduce an update that actually, yes, you might think it makes you faster on the track, but kwa pit stops, it actually messes you up.
Yeah, it's one of those for Alonso yenye a day to forget where the day he reached 100,000 kilometers in Formula 1. Milestone.
Finyia applause hapo kwa nini? Tukitukana watu ndo unafinyia watu applause lakini Alonso hutaki.
Yeah, so it's one of them na lazima we acknowledge it. If it was bad, it was bad. Yep. So I'll give him that. Also pia the running over the incident. But I wanted to give it to Aston Martin. I couldn't give it to Aston Martin because
Yuko na mlema
crash ya Stroll bana sasa hiyo. What can we do about it?
You can't beat a person who's already down.
Yeah. Don't kick a man when he's down, man.
Yeah.
But
I'm
you've done that before.
I'm better than that.
No, let's proceed.
Exactly. So anyway, that's it. Suzuka.
Yeah,
Staki-
baby.
Staki tupige predictions. Just
Back
one
to
of
factory
staki
setting.
mpige
Back to
predictions.
factory setting.
Nataka if you guys want to catch the predictions, nataka wakuje space on Thursday. At the Pitboard on Twitter. Follow us on IG at the Pitboard. Tutakuwa tukieka polls hapo na suggestions hapo. I love to literally bring everyone in. Now you want to catch our predictions, follow us on Twitter. Tena mtaona venye kutakuwa. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's fair. Si ndio? Aya, so helmet mako hiyo
hapana,
itakuwa
hapana,
special
hapana.
episode.
Hey, bro, we also need to talk about the constructors championship. Ferrari is now 12. Is it 12?
24 points.
24 points.
24
Behind
points.
from getting P2.
There is a lady I was talking to. I think last weekend
From getting P2 in
45.
the constructors.
Who is P2?
Mercedes.
Last week tulikuwa 45 points away. This week tuko 24 points. Yeah. So
And Hamilton is ahead of Alonso.
yeah, we don't care about that. Si tunataka P2. P2 is we are coming for it.
Ferrari wanataka reduced wind tunnel testing time.
Anyway, that's it from us here at the Pitboard. Again, the
Yes,
Pitboard,
boy.
where the checkered flag is just the beginning. We would love to take your time and talk F1 all day long. Nini. But if you want more, tafadhali follow us on Twitter. Follow us on IG. If you did a drop YouTube links, zitakuwa almost everywhere. Listen to us on Spotify. Subscribe, give us ratings. Participate in the questions we are asking on Spotify. And, can you watch along, come enjoy. Tukona pia WhatsApp group, so if you want to join, just follow our handles, then a request. Yeah. And final words, boys.
Suzuka back to factory setting.
Interesting.
Ashasema.
Watch out for us. Sisi ndio wale wasi.
Cue the Dutch anthem.
Aya.
Mtazoea hiyo sauti.
Over and out here from the capital. Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.